A medical student studies general surgery, internal medicine, chest diseases, pediatrics, gynecology, forensic medicine, toxicology, urology, ENT, neurology, anatomy, ophthalmology, and more. An engineering student in the early years studies drawing, mathematics, physics, engineering, chemistry, mechanics, statics, and computer applications. If they continue in civil engineering, for example, they study structure, concrete, materials, steel, hydraulics, irrigation, drainage, sanitation, roads, bridges, and more. A commerce student studies management, accounting, economics, marketing, pure mathematics, behavioral sciences, law basics, European languages, procurement management, and a huge variety of subjects. And it doesn't stop there. In every faculty, regardless of which one, there are always fixed subjects crammed in beside the term materials like human rights, professional ethics, law, citizenship, and others. So what's the purpose of all these subjects? Why don't we just study specialized subjects only, or in other words, focus solely on the core material? You're now on our channel Wonders of Secrets, but before we begin, if you're still new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell so you get our videos right away. Let's start gradually and from the very beginning. The start of life, a person must acquire a set of basic, indispensable knowledge like reading, writing, and arithmetic, which allows them to navigate life consciously and gain further skills and knowledge. This basic knowledge can be learned from family or the surrounding environment without needing to go to school. Reading, writing, and arithmetic can be learned in one way or another without school, especially nowadays where learning is widely accessible via the internet and social media. However, during the basic education phase specifically, the absence of a defined curriculum or a fixed path makes learning difficult, whereas with a structured curriculum or consistent plan, the outcomes are usually better. That's why schools at this stage have a significant impact, because early stage curricula are the result of thought and experience from education experts and are used by ministries of education to build foundational knowledge in students. At this stage of basic education, we don't have the luxury to choose what to study or not to study. It's just a few subjects or skills that we must acquire, and all of them are useful to children in one way or another. After the initial basic education stage, we enter the preparatory stage. Although it's still part of basic education, it differs from the previous stage in that it introduces students more broadly to the concept of science. So we start to learn about natural sciences, lab experiments, and different branches of mathematics, even if not in depth. Additionally, students are made more aware of the concept of languages, both native and foreign, and there's more emphasis on them. So far, the subjects and curricula are acceptable, and there's no real issue. Now we come to the neglected stage, one that many of us don't even understand: secondary school. This is the stage where academic subjects get split into branches. English, for example, is no longer one subject. It gets divided into grammar, morphology, literature, poetry, rhetoric, and so on. Science subjects become chemistry, physics, and biology. Mathematics turns into algebra, geometry, calculus, trigonometry, statics, and dynamics. Even those nice social studies we used to take become history and geography. We also start to discover new branches like philosophy, psychology, and sociology. Contrary to expectations, the goal of secondary school is to study many subjects. This is intentional, not a flaw in the educational system. We're not talking here about education quality, but rather the system itself. In every country in the world, secondary school is the phase where the student gets a comprehensive look at the world around them. The idea is for the student to gain a bit of knowledge about everything. This helps them find their inclination towards something specific. These many subjects guide students toward what they truly love. Logically, you can't know what you want to study unless you've had a preliminary look at all the available fields. That's why teenagers in secondary school start saying things like, "I want to go to the faculty of Al Alsun because I feel I love languages and literature," or "I want to go to the faculty of science because I love physics and chemistry the most." So the purpose of the wide range of subjects in secondary school is to serve as a source of inspiration and direction, to give students a good idea about the professional possibilities the future holds. Now we get to the final stage, university. We all agree that studying a wide range of subjects before university is a good thing that helps determine a person's academic identity and interests. But now that we're in university, why are we seeing the same scenario again? Why are we studying so many subjects, most of which, in our view, are useless? The truth is that university is fundamentally a place for specialization. A person choosing to study a specific field in university should ideally study only their major for the entire duration. The time for broad study should have ended with high school. But if someone finds themselves studying many scattered and diverse subjects in university, it only has one of three explanations. First explanation: the university system is a failure and lacks specialization. That's it. Second explanation: sometimes to study a certain field, the student needs to learn foundational elements that enable specialization. Let's take civil engineering as an example. If someone wants to specialize in structural construction, they can't dive right into it. First, they need to understand building materials, which they study in a subject called materials. Then they need to understand the properties of the mixture of iron and cement. They'll study this in concrete. Then comes structure and design. So the student needs other components to help them reach their target. This logic applies to other fields as well. Third explanation: sometimes certain fields are interconnected even if they appear separate. Knowing all of them is necessary to master your specialization. Take the field of medicine, for example. A medical student can't just jump into one specialty directly. Let's say someone wants to specialize in chest diseases. They can't study this field without understanding the bone structure around the rib cage or the functions of the lungs. Not only that, they also need to study other systems that affect or relate to the lungs, like ENT, because the nose, ear, and throat are related to the respiratory tract. Plus, there are other essential systems and functions that must be understood by any medical specialist. All of these are things a chest disease specialist needs to know and study well. That, by the way, is the main reason why medical students study so many subjects and end up specializing in just one, because their specialization is often connected to other parts of the body in one way or another, and you can't separate it from the rest. So they must be knowledgeable about the rest. In conclusion, the large number of subjects studied at different educational stages is not always a bad thing, and also not always good. It all depends on the purpose of their presence at that stage, whether it's just filler and curriculum inflation, or if it serves another purpose like expanding knowledge or preparing for specialization. That's it. We're done. Who reached this point? Whoever did, you are the best. Please give us a like before you leave so we can know how many of you made it to the end. And don't forget, if you have any questions or something puzzling you, write it down in the comments under the video so we can answer it. Peace.